Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Saturday. This is Game Day Live. Game Day Live here at the Primetime Radio Studios. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Vinny Parisi coming in from the south side of Chicago. I don't even know where you were from, but that's all I know, Vinny. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network as the Devils take on the Detroit Red Wings at an 8 p.m. Eastern start. We got a 5 minutes late start. Sorry, folks, we're late. I was babbling to Vinny, telling him my worldly problems that I'm going through. Just babbling. Like, oh, we got a podcast to do. But Vinny, enough about me. It's about you. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Sam. I'm not looking forward to the Devils game because they always lose. Just kidding. It should be fun. We got a lot of COVID to deal with, but hey, at least they're not one of the teams that is getting canceled through the holiday break. I know that's good for some teams. I have a very important Bruins fan in my life, and he's actually ecstatic that the Bruins are canceled through the holidays because they could stop playing games while only dressing 10 forwards now. So I guess there's good and bad to the whole thing, but I hope the Devils are able to at least play an entertaining hockey game and not just be completely garbage like they have been for the last couple weeks now. I will say, in that most recent game against the Vegas Golden Knights, they came out strong. Nick Villano correctly predicted that Jack Hughes would score a goal. And, of course, they ended up showing some fight in the end, but we'll see what happens with this team. They're in a rut right now.
Yeah, they're in a rut. Also, Mackenzie Blackwood, Mac Black out day to day, neck injury. That's not good. I'll tell you what, Mac Black's health, heel, neck. A lot of bumps and bruises along the way. I mean, he is facing a lot of shots, a lot of high quality shots, especially during this stretch.
Yeah, and you also got to wonder, he's got these health things that he's been dealing with. He's not the most reliable goalie in the NHL in terms of that, but when he's on and he's playing well, he's one of the best goalies in the league. I don't think there's any denying that. And you also wonder if the status of the Devils has a little bit to do with it. If they're humming and going, are these small little nagging injuries something that keep Mackenzie Blackwood from traveling? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no, they probably don't. But they're where they are. They are who they are. And getting destroyed by Detroit when your neck is giving you a little bit of trouble, it's not worth it. So, especially with all the COVID and whatnot, hey, Blackwood, we saw how the Devils played last year when they missed him for 2 weeks, and we see how they're playing right now. So imagine combining those two things. So hopefully he's able to get his neck going and come back after Christmas COVID-free, neck injury-free, ready to roll.
Yeah, exactly. And who will be in net tonight? That is the mystery. John Gillies, who was acquired from the St. Louis Blues, or Akira Schmid. No one's saying anything. But I can understand that when it comes to goaltenders. But obviously, Jonathan Bernier out. Who would you go with if you were Lindy Ruff?
Yeah, I would probably go with Schmid because they're playing Detroit. It's a road game. Detroit's a really good team. People probably still have this perception that they're not, but that's just not true. They're a young team. They're basically what the Devils should be. A team humming around the wild card spot, bunch of young players producing well, winning Rookie of the Month this, Rookie of the Week that, and getting good play from some of their veterans like Dylan Larkin and Bertuzzi and a couple of those guys. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up, but I definitely think it will end up being Schmid just because he's the guy who's got one NHL start under his belt, and they're probably looking for him to be a little bit more part of the future than our recently acquired Gillies from St. Louis. So we'll see what happens there, but it's definitely part of the conversation because even the Devils Twitter posted something like with their pregame article about, goaltending decisions. So I would guess it's going to be Schmid, but yeah, I guess you never truly know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess so too because the Devils have a back-to-back situation today. Detroit, Pittsburgh tomorrow. Maybe play Gillies against Pittsburgh tomorrow. While Schmid, playing with against other young players, a rebuilding Detroit Red Wings who featuring Lucas Raymond. That name should ring a bell for Devils fans because, well, the 2020 NHL draft, could he have fallen to New Jersey? Obviously, the Devils got Alexander Holtz. Then later, they got Dawson Mercer, who will also play tonight. It's like what you said, Vinny. This is where they should be. Where, maybe ahead of what the Red Wings are progressing, but they're not. And that's why fans are up in arms. And the question on Facebook Live, Ryan Huttner, where is Tom Fitzgerald?
Yeah, that's a great question. In my opinion, I've said this on the show many times. I believe Mike Sullivan is the best coach in the National Hockey League. He would be coach of the year this year. So far, if it were up to me, well, nobody ever asked me who my favorite or who I think the best GM or president of hockey operations is in the National Hockey League. And of course, I believe that is Steve Yzerman. I think Julian Brisebois has done a good job with Tampa Bay since Steve Yzerman's random departure to go back to Detroit. But we all know Steve Yzerman's hands are all over the back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. And now he legitimately looks like he's starting to build the exact same thing in Detroit. So you look at that team, and I think, okay, they drafted Moritz Seider in 2019, and everybody roasted them. Is it 2019 or 2020? It was 2019 where they landed Seider. And in 2018, Philip Zadina fell to them, and Steve Yzerman was like, okay, that's fine. We'll take him. And then they ended up with Lucas Raymond last year, who's arguably one of the best players from his entire draft class at pick 4. And then, of course, they're always picking these players. But when I think of someone like Seider, the fans and the media, they kind of torched Steve Yzerman for this pick because he wasn't one of the other guys who was like unanimously in the top 10 like everybody thought. How did they pass up on this guy? How did they pass up on that guy? Well, Moritz Seider is one of the best players on the team now. And he's looking like one of the best young D in the whole league. And so it's proof that, fan base and media, not always right. And you're waiting for the Devils to become a team like that. Is Tom Fitzgerald that when he drafted Muhammad Ulin? Maybe. Are we going to look back at that 3 years from now and be like, wow, we all criticized the crap out of that 4 years ago, but look at him now. And same thing with Moritz Seider. And that, it's part of the way that Detroit has turned it around. Dylan Larkin, after all these years, has really stepped into his captain role. We're hoping Nico Hischier can do that. Lucas Raymond, kind of their version of Jack Hughes a little bit. I think Jack has a higher ceiling but a lower floor. So, we'll see what happens with that. But, they got pieces all over the place. And, if Luke Hughes can become 95% of what Moritz Seider is, that'll be pretty good for a long time. Nedeljkovic is a good goalie coming over from Carolina. It just seems like whenever Steve Yzerman makes like a sly little move like that, it always ends up working out in their favor. I think of Braden Point. Braden Point, if that draft was redone, he'd probably go first or second, maybe third overall. So it's just little moves like that turn out to be game-breaking type acquisitions or draft picks or free agent signings. I'm waiting for the Devils to be that team. So I agree with you. Where is Tom Fitzgerald?
Think about it. Tom Fitzgerald and Steve Yzerman. I think their picks have been pretty good overall. I have so much respect for Yzerman. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, I mean, he torched teams. He was, he had that stare. He had that, C on his jersey. I think there was even an injury. He had a major injury where they basically had to saw off his leg, and then his one leg was only a half inch taller than the other, but that was the only way he could still play in the NHL. And in those days, it was kind of brutal, and you had to put up big points. But also, I think that plays in the mix as well, aside from the GM, because I think pound for pound, I think those two have made some high quality picks and moves. But the ownership groups, the Illich family's been there for a long time. I believe they're the Pizza family,
Yep,
and
Little
and,
Caesars.
and yep, and Jeff Vinnick down in Tampa. It doesn't surprise me that you have, Tampa Bay Lightning where they are now, and where the Detroit Red Wings are, where they're going on the up and up. Um, these people know how to win. They have a winning environment, a winning culture, and Steve Yzerman leaving one for another. I think he's very smart what he's doing, and it's a model that goes back towards Ken Holland days, where it used to be Detroit and the New Jersey Devils, which franchise has the dynasty going in the late '90s and early 2000s, and you would have to give the edge slightly to the Detroit Red Wings because of those late round picks, like Pavel Datsuk and Henrik Zetterberg. You know, just these obscure talent that turned out to be NHL All Stars and a huge impact on the franchise, but also on the league. So that's what winning looks like, and that's why I'm pointing it out. That is what winning. This is what we were promised was going to happen. Still hasn't happened, but you could see the difference between the Red Wings and the Devils. They know how to win. They're in a rebuild that doesn't take six to 10 plus years. Just want to point
And you
that
saw
out.
it a couple of nights ago. You saw a more advanced version of it with the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah,
Yeah,
they had an expansion draft that they did 5 years ago now, but most of those guys are gone anyway. I think the only ones that are still left are Shea Theodore and then that line of Wild Bill, William Karlsson, obviously, Marcia Salt, and Riley Smith. And most of the rest of the team is new players that they either drafted and developed or traded for. I mean, they traded for a line of superstars with, having Stastny, Pacioretty, Stone, a bunch of different guys to fill in there, acquiring someone like Jack Eichel, signing
yeah,
someone like Alexander Pietrangelo. I mean, this team just shows how to win. They show, oh, we're going to go get that forward. Oh, Mark Stone's available? Well, we need to make sure we have the draft picks and assets available to go get a guy like that. Mark Stone is the closest active player to Marian Hossa. And I think someone like Marian Hossa, who's like a mix of Crosby and McDavid, that, a slightly lower level of those guys, but like still certainly right near the top. Mark Stone is just like that. And Max Pacioretty has more goals in the last month than his entire Montreal Canadiens team in every game combined.
yeah,
And, seeing teams put themselves together like that, you make a good point with the Red Wings, and I'm bringing it up with the Golden Knights. There's a way to win, and getting the right people in there to scout and draft and turn those prospects into NHL players or turn those prospects into trades for NHL players. It's
yeah,
just there's a way to win, and it hasn't been what we thought for a long time.
yeah, yeah. Also, people were asking, Tom Fitzgerald. Look, his son played last night. Casey Fitzgerald, I believe for the Buffalo Sabres, got in a little scrap. We retweeted that out last night on at Let's Go Devils Pod. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm happy for the Fitzgerald family. I saw some of the captions. I got a chuckle out of it because fans are still mad as the ship is burning down to the ground. Right now. But seriously, congratulations, Fitzgerald family. I think it's always a nice thing where you see the next generation come up to the NHL, and then start off with a scrap like that.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Now, really, how much do we blame Fitzgerald right now with what's going on right now? Like before the last, 3 weeks, the Devils were having a pretty good start to the season, and everyone wanted to praise Fitzgerald. And
Yeah.
he wasn't a part of drafting Nico or Jack, so like anyone would have taken those two guys. But like, signing Dougie Hamilton, figuring out that Yegor Sharangovich is a good NHL player ready to go. Like, even though he struggled so far, we know how impactful Sharangovich can be. All the dealings with Sammy Vatanen. People could be mad at him for the backup goaltending situation. Corey Crawford certainly didn't work out, and then Bernier's been a disaster for the most part so far. So, like, there are, like, little things to be mad at him for here and there. But I guess really outside of, there's a large community out there that wants Lindy Ruff fired right now. And I guess that is a critique of Fitzgerald. If you think Lindy Ruff should be fired right now, I certainly don't think he's going to make it through the holidays, but we'll see, depending if they keep winning or keep losing. But looking at the schedule, it's not easy. But, I mean...
I'm going to interrupt you there, if you don't mind. I want to ask this question. During the Woo Report, a couple hours ago, sometimes I babble, and then I start babbling something. I'm like, oh, wait a second, I never thought of that. And I know fans don't want to hear this, but given what's going on in the world of sports with COVID, do you think it's wise right now to make a wholesale change if there is an indefinite stoppage with this team, which, I don't know if it's going to go back to, you can't practice 14 days, but the rules are starting to get very strict for good reason. Would you want to ride it out with Lindy and the staff to the end of the year, no matter what, just to get through these uncertain times? Because how many? 5 games postponed? I think Boston's indefinitely for a while, for a week. I haven't kept track. It's been so many of them. Do you think it's wise to even go that route?
Yeah, I would say no so far, because I don't think the Devils are a playoff team. I don't even think they're necessarily close. I legitimately think they have a better chance of winning the draft lottery than making it to the postseason. The Arizona Coyotes are going to run away with the number 1% chance of winning it. But I think, it's going to be tough. I mean, you got games getting canceled. They're doing it on a team-by-team basis now rather than league-wide, as they did at the end of 2020. They're starting to test every single day again, which is going to hopefully ease the spread and catching people sooner than, before it really starts to rotate through the locker room and all that. But I'm also waiting for taxi squads. And then if you start dealing with taxi squads, then it's like, okay, there's going to be more players around. There's going to be less transactions. So I'm kind of with you. I think if all the things start really looking like they did last year, I mean, the Maple Leafs are already about to drop to 50% capacity in their building. It is going to be hard in a situation like that to bring in somebody new mid-season to just try and take care of all this stuff. It's almost like, forget about winning, forget about the playoffs, get another good pick, continue to let Jack Hughes put up points, because he's been pretty good lately, I think. And then let Nico get healthy. Jesper Bratt's having a good year. We'll see what we got in Dougie Hamilton. And when Graves comes back, there are some good players there to be excited about, but they're not winning the Cup this year. They're not even going to make the playoffs. So why not make development and drafting the priority? I know it sucks to say it again, but I mean, until they start winning, it's basically going to have to be what it is. And
again, believe me, Devils fans, if this was under normal circumstances, the chopping block, all that, is all fair game.
Yeah.
But in this situation, it may not be a bad idea to say, okay, let's take a step back here. You've got a lot of uncertainty. You're talking also Olympics possibly being not canceled, but the players not going.
Yeah.
The spread, we've already got PK Subban, Nico Heischer, Ryan Graves, Yaros, all in the COVID protocol. And maybe it's just, look, Lindy, Recchi, Nazardine, you've got the whole year to prove it right now. We're not going to fire you even though you're like 0-32. You got to prove why you're going to be here next year employed. Fans may not like it. I don't even like the sound of it. But given what's going on and having that continuity, because say if a new coach comes in, say if you get a new coach and then suddenly everything is stopped and you're not allowed to have practices, that coach is not even in a position to succeed at that point. So rather than do that, let's just maybe the best thing to do is ride it out this season, but the hot seat's going to be hot the entire time, and it's going to be a whole body of work evaluation for Tom Fitzgerald. And you go to the 2022 draft, I hate saying it, getting at least in the top 10, top 15, whatever, and there you go. But you got your young kids with NHL experience.
Yeah, it's definitely something to consider. Like we both have kind of alluded to, it's horrid that they're in this train of thought again, because basically since the Taylor Hall season, they have been borderline bad every single day. And, they win a couple games here and there, and a lot of them are in comeback form, and sometimes they're fun, and I enjoy watching Nico play a two-way game. I know there are just some Devils fans that just despise this kid, but he's my favorite player. I love watching the two-way game. Jack Hughes has a chance to do something remarkable. Jesper Bratt on a breakaway feels automatic. There are things to enjoy, but they're not winning. And whenever they're not winning, it's going to fall at the feet of the coach and the best players. So it's the way it is.
Exactly. We just got a few minutes, Vinny. Just wrapping up, but it's this is what we do on Game Day Live. We explore different scenarios. I just like to always, me personally, Vinny, I just want everybody fired. I'd even fire myself if it would help the team. Fire myself on this fine programming. But the truth of the matter is, it is kind of a scary thing seeing that Montreal has no fans in the building. Postponements, positive tests, protocol. Nobody wants to hear that, but the reality is we have to face it head on and adjust. And again, like what I was saying, maybe that's the best for the New Jersey Devils, even though that's not even really what we want to hear.
Yeah. Part of me thinks that's just going to be the way it is for at least the next 5 years, that when you start creeping into the late November, early December, mid-December time of year, it's going to be COVID season, right? Like it happened last year. There was the second wave last year. It seemed at the end of last summer that things were going to start simmering down, and, they lifted a couple mask mandates in certain places, and you were starting to go in bars and restaurants again, and then boom. It was the Broncos have all three of their quarterbacks in COVID protocol, and they have a wide receiver playing quarterback for a game in December like that. And, it's going on again. There's over 100 NHL players on the league's COVID list right now, and they're canceling football games and pushing them to Tuesday. The Browns are going to play the Ravens on Tuesday instead of tonight. So, it's hard to see how it's just not going to be like that going forward, and the league needs to adjust.
Yeah, and just keep in mind one thing about all the problems. Lindy Ruff's coaching career survived on tremendous goaltending. You talk about Dominic Hasek back in the day. Ryan Miller, right? Remember Ryan Miller in Buffalo? Who was his goaltender in Dallas? Was it Ben Bishop? Or was it?
I don't think he had Ben Bishop at all. I want to say, don't quote me on this, but he definitely had Antti Niemi for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Dallas. Did they have Hobby Bulin at one point? with Lindy Ruff or one of those guys. You know, there was definitely some okay goaltending down there in Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the Islander. Oh, Evgeny Nabokov. Well, it was one of those guys. But I know Antti Niemi played a fair amount down there.
Yeah. Yeah, I keep on for. I believe there's a Russian goaltender. I just can't think of the name, but he survived. You know, I mean, he thrived as a coach with great goaltending, and you know, with Mackenzie Blackwood, you know, out again, is he the guy? You know, is he the guy? And maybe maybe the, you know, what could be a blessing in disguise before we get to our predictions. Right now, this is Akira Schmid's time to shine if he gets the playing time right now. Blackwood's out for day-to-day. Bernier's out for an indefinite amount of time. And the Devils really, maybe Mackenzie Blackwood is not the guy, you know, to carry this team. And, you know, you need to have stellar goaltending, you know. And, again, I love Mac Black. I love everything he's done so far. Big goaltender. But you know what? Nico Dawes and Schmid are looking really nice right now. And maybe that could be a big part of the problem, aside from, you know, not making complete passes.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember Kari Lettinen?
Yes.
That's who we were thinking of.
Okay, thank you.
Not Russian, but
yeah,
it was definitely who I was thinking of. They ran the Niemi Lettinen duo during the Lindy Ruff era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. It sounds Russian though, a little bit.
Yeah,
like...
I knew it was that wave of mid 2010s B level goaltending. Like I would say they were both B level goalies in the mid 2010s. You got the A levels like the Lundqvists and the Schneiders and the Rines and the Prices, Rask. So like right below them, Lettinen and Niemi were pretty good for a while.
Yeah. All right. Final predictions, Vinny. We got to get out of here.
Yeah, let's go Devils 2-1 in overtime.
I think they're going to get spanked. I think it's going to be a 5-1 drubbing. I think the Red Wings. I'm interested to see how the Red Wings do, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because they're rebuilding as well, and it could be kind of a measuring stick, kind of like where we really are in our rebuild, and maybe put us back to reality.
Yeah, I think a lot of people confuse the word rebuild for bad. The Red Wings are still rebuilding. They have a long way to go before they're before they're the Lightning, as Steve Yzerman probably hopes they become. But I caution people to forget that there's a difference between rebuilding and bad, or rebuilding and good. Like the New York Rangers are still technically rebuilding, but they're very good. Same thing with Anaheim. They're rebuilding, but they're very good. Then you got a team like Chicago. They're bad, but I wouldn't call them rebuilding. So it's kind of the same thing backwards.
Well, thank you, Rody Ryan. He says put Sam Wu behind the bench. Okay.
I'm in. I'll be your assistant coach.
Okay. Yep. And Nick can do all of our analytics upstairs.
Yeah, and talk to whoever we need him to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll tell Amanda Stein the night before who's going to be in the starting lineup for her to tweet out.
Please do. She'll probably still wait.
Oh boy! All right. Well, thank you very much, Vinny. Enjoy the game, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Till next time, let's go Devils. This is Game Day Live.